All right, let's get right into it. We're going to forget about all those productivity hacks for a minute, because today, we're not talking about saving a few minutes here and there. We're talking about how you spend your entire lifetime. Yeah, we're tackling that big, kind of uncomfortable truth about how we're actually using this one precious life we've got.
You know that feeling, right? You look at the clock and you're just like, where did the day even go? We've all been there. But now I want you to take that feeling and imagine it's not just for a day. Imagine that feeling applied to an entire decade. Now that is the feeling we need to really understand and figure out how to avoid.
All right, so let's just kick this off with a single, pretty stark number. And trust me, once you hear this, it kind of puts everything into a new perspective.
30,000. Yeah, that's it. On average, that's what we get. That's a human life, but not in years, in days. 30,000 chances to wake up. 30,000 sunrises. Just let that number sit with you for a second.
And this is where it gets really personal. So if you're around 25, you've already used up over 9,000 of your days. Gone. If you're 40, you're looking at more than 14,600. The clock is definitely ticking for every single one of us. But here's the real kicker, the question that actually matters. How many of those thousands of days do you truly remember?
So why does it feel like time just keeps speeding up the older we get? Well, that brings us to this thing that so many of us fall into. It's called the autopilot trap.
You see, time itself doesn't actually change. It's our experience of it that does. Just think back to when you were a kid, right? How long did summer vacation feel? Like an eternity. And that's because everything was new and your brain was soaking it all in, paying full attention. But as adults, man, our lives can become this loop of wake up, work, scroll, sleep, and do it all again. Our brain kind of goes on standby. And the days, the weeks, they just blur into one.
So this really gives us two paths, two completely different ways to live. On one path, you can actually stretch time. You do that by living intentionally, seeking out new experiences, learning things, creating memories that actually stick. But on the other path, you shrink time. That's the path of routine and repetition, where your whole life can just become this one big forgettable blur. So you really have to ask yourself, which path are you walking down right now?
And that's the real danger here with this whole autopilot thing. It boils down to this really powerful idea. When every day is just a copy of the day before, you're not really living anymore. You're just replaying.
Okay, so how do we break free from this? How do we get off autopilot? Well, it all starts by taking back control of our most valuable resources, our attention, our real priorities, and of course, our physical energy.
I want you to imagine this. Every morning, you wake up with, say, 100 attention points to spend for the day. That's your budget. But what happens? We spend them on stuff that gives us nothing back, right? Overthinking things, endlessly scrolling on our phones, trying to make everyone else happy. And then by the end of the day, when it's time for our own growth, our own dreams, we've got, maybe 5 points left? See, the problem isn't a lack of time. It's a total collapse of our priorities.
All right, here is a super simple but really powerful exercise you can do to fix this. You're going to make 3 lists. Seriously. First list, write down what you say is important to you. Family, health, learning, whatever. Second list, write down where you actually spend your time and energy. Work, scrolling, chores. That gap between list 1 and list 2, that's where all the frustration comes from. And that third list, what needs to change? Well, that becomes your roadmap. It's all about being brutally honest with yourself here.
And let's be real, you can't chase any of those priorities if you don't have your health. Think about it like this. Your body is the only car you will ever get for your entire life. There are no trade-ins. You wouldn't pour soda in the gas tank or ignore the check engine light, would you? Of course not. But that's exactly what so many of us do with our bodies. Taking care of yourself, it's not about vanity. It's about respecting the literal engine that drives your entire life and all of your dreams.
All right, so we've plugged the leaks, we've stopped wasting our resources. Now it's time to go on offense. It's time to stop just reacting to whatever life throws at you and start actively, intentionally building the life you actually want.
And this really is the question at the very heart of everything. Are you living the life you chose, or are you just living the life that kind of happened to you? See, most people don't consciously design their lives. They just follow the path of least resistance. They react, they accept what's given, and then one day they wake up and realize they're in a life that feels like it was built for a stranger.
Because here's the deal. If you don't design your own life, you can bet someone or something else will. You'll just fall into the default plan that society has laid out. And that plan? It usually involves trading your passions and your health for a steady paycheck. You can't let that happen. You have to be the architect.
And a massive part of being the architect is choosing your building materials and your construction crew. I mean, the people you share your life with. So do a little energy audit of your social circle. Think about the people you hang out with. Do they give you energy, or do they just drain it? Do they lift you up or pull you down? Just remember, you really do become the average of the people you spend the most time with. Your time is your life. And if someone doesn't respect your time, they don't deserve to be in.
And all of this brings us to one final and I think really empowering way to look at things. So many of us go through life feeling like we're just tenants, living in a house that someone else designed and built. But that's not true at all. Your life isn't some finished house you just moved into. No, it's a blank canvas. And every single thing you do, every choice you make, that's the paint.
You are the artist. You're the one holding the brush. So stop waiting around for someone else to paint your masterpiece for you. The only question that matters now is the one right here in front of you. What are you going to paint today?